And,
Yeah, go ahead.
you know, I know you've done it, Mr. Davis, but please check on, make sure that she gets her refund as she can go, she will.
You know, just for the record, when they, you know, they're going to start this code enforcement complaint over, so then that takes 30 days, and then they give them an extension of 30 days. But, you know, by the time, you know, I appreciate you trying to get something done, but this, I've been there. I've been doing this for 4 years. And before I get shut down on this subject, I want to make sure, are you guys going to waive my next $450 fee if I can't get a straight answer?
Yeah.
So my appeal.
I don't think you can waive anything in the ordinance. The commission doesn't have the authority to waive something in the ordinance. So I just can't, they don't have the legal authority to.
Well, can you guarantee me that I'm going to have $1,800 back in the
I'm going to
next?
tell you this checks that got, if not been refunded, will be refunded. I understood that.
Contact Sarah. If you don't get it by next week, call Sarah.
Yeah.
If we couldn't afford the appeal, that's fine.
I think, and this brings up the issue of the repeat offenders. We've got to deal with it. Y'all want to?
So my next subject that I was on the agenda for was planning and zoning, which goes into code enforcement. It's the whole planning and zoning department. Something has to be done. You know, it's out of control. It's, you know, you guys, they keep coming before you with new ordinances to pass, but you know, there's no enforcement of the code. So why are we making new ordinances? I mean, they've gone as far as told some of you commissioners that they can't enforce the code. So if we can't enforce our written codes, then why are we continuing to make more codes and have more ordinances when they're telling you they can't be enforced? And if they can't be enforced, then why do we even have code enforcement? The planning and zoning department, they have to start following the books. They're not following the books. There's projects that are coming before you guys that don't meet the book. And I guess you guys are dependent on the boards before you that they have reviewed these plans. All over Miramar Beach, there's you know, all over Walton County, there's parking and drainage problems. And you know, 20 years ago when we didn't have codes and books and stuff like that, they could get away with saying, well, you know, that came in before. This is after the fact. Still today, there are so many projects that is going through the planning and zoning department that do not meet the code. And it doesn't make any sense. Where do these guys take it upon themselves to allow certain...
Sherry, can you say which? Can you tell us which projects those are? Are they projects that have already been passed? Are they projects coming up?
There's several that have been passed. There's some that's getting ready to come before you.
Did you send any emails out or anything to that effect, like this doesn't meet the code
I went to the first meeting of one of them. I mean, it says on the front page, this does not meet the standards of the, you know, it does not comply. And then when you mention this to the board, the next thing you know, everything switched around and they do comply now. And how can that happen? I'm calling for an investigation. It's that bad into the planning department and some of the projects that are being passed and approved. You know, they're going through the boards, but some of these board members don't understand it is their job to look at everything on those plans and figure out, does it meet the code? You know, I've been to board meetings where some of the board members don't even have books. And, you know, they're just good citizens, some of them sitting up there thinking they're doing the right thing and doing what they're being told by somebody in the staff that just passes stuff through. You can drive through Miramar Beach alone and look at projects that are in progress right now being built on the county right-of-way. I've been to Board of Adjustment meetings where people have to go before the board to beg to use 3 feet of their own property to put a pool or a deck or something in. That's the procedure. You have to go through the procedure in order to build into your setbacks. When you've got projects coming in, building up the whole lot, and they're going over their lot, they have no setbacks, not enough parking, not draining. It's everything. It's bad. So you know, if I'm asking for an emergency stop on any more ordinances or changing the code until somebody looks into what's going on in the planning and zoning department. And I think, that if the trash can be an emergency issue on the beach, then this is most definitely an emergency, because I'm not standing before you telling you stuff that's not true. I think it needs to be looked into. And I also think, there's a lot, I don't know the exact percentage, maybe Mr. Davis does, but I think a lot of the lawsuits that are against Walton County stem from a part of the planning and zoning department. I would say over 50% of them have to be.
Well, land use is very controversial. I mean, land use and development is very controversial, and it's very attorney-oriented, so we get attorneys from both sides who, if one loses, the other's going to sue. One of the things, though, I will say is I had some comments about some lots in Miramar, too. Some of these lots were platted back in a subdivision in, 2004, 2000, whatever. Now, there would be stormwater requirements for the subdivision, but there wouldn't be for the single-family lot. Some of these single-family lots would not have to put stormwater on them because they're in a subdivision and it would be. So if you have any examples of people that are building or development that's going on that you see that we don't notice or see or have been told about, please, let us know that, because we would certainly like to know it. But a lot of these single-family lots never had drainage. They're platted back in the 40s, and they never, some of them...
And that part I understand, but it's happening today, right now as we speak. And for me to go around and do what you're asking me to do, I get harassed enough. That's why we have code enforcement.
I'm just saying, if you know...
Now, I understand.
If you know of some cases, if you would, and then that will give us an idea about what you're talking about. Then we can go from there and see if there's a systemic problem with something.
Well, I'll do that. But, even my point is it's not just their drainage or single-family, residents. They're building on the county right-of-way. It's been going on, and it continues to go on. And the books aren't being followed, and that's coming straight through the planning department. And then some people are made to follow every rule that there is. So their property becomes useless because they don't have enough property to put in what they want.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the issues is a lot of people just go ahead and do things, without permission. And, some people are caught and some people aren't. The people who come in for the permits, legally, get kind of run around the flagpole, I think, sometimes. I agree. We're also working on that issue with people coming in, doing things, not asking for permission, needing a permit, and we had a meeting about that the other day.
But some of the ones that I'm talking about have gone through the process, and they come out.
Well, you have all kinds. I mean, we have all types.
And again, county business license, it has to be addressed. And a lot of
Sherry, I know this is putting another, as you said, burden on you, but to me, the proper procedure is if you have, give us addresses or give us places or give us something, and you give them to Mr. Demers, because he is the interim county administrator and he is ultimately over planning. So let's start with giving him the problem, and then, he can...
How many building inspectors does Walton County have? One?
Building inspectors or site inspectors? Four.
Yeah, and I don't have much of a problem doing that, Sarah, because I am telling you the truth, but I don't see why code enforcement can't just drive Miramar Beach, and see if they can see what I'm talking about.
How do you know if somebody's building something in the right-of-way? How do you know where the right-of-way limits are?
Well, when the street's right beside the house that's going up, I pretty much figure somebody's doing something wrong, and I would figure that the county built the road right, or, it's really that bad.
Okay, so you're saying that people are building houses right up to the pavement?
Not just houses. There's projects. You've got one getting ready to come before you in a couple of weeks. It's just unbelievable that this even made it out of the planning and zoning department. It's just unbelievable.
One of the problems to me is, and Commissioner Meadows, it always has been, is that code enforcement is complaint driven. And when we look at code enforcement, I think we need to look at amending that or whatever, and when code enforcement does drive by and see a problem, they should be able to address it, but right now, they're, by our code, they are complaint driven, so, and I know it's a long process, and I know you've been through it, but I think we need to look at the whole code enforcement and giving them more power, giving them more authority or whatever to do the job that we feel like they need to do.
And just, I want to make sure we're also clear.
Yeah.
There's a state statute that limits the authority of code enforcement.
Yeah.
Pretty severely too, so we
Yeah,
have
so
to
we have to
work
work with the state statute.
But Sarah, they have the power and authority, just go enforce the book. I don't understand why they say they can't.
They are complaints.
It's a great, I'm sorry, Commissioner, it's a great misconception out there.
Yeah.
That they can drive down the road and issue violations. They simply do not have either the statutory or the ordinance authority to do that. It simply does not exist.
I
And
said
there are,
this
ma'am, let me
weekend.
finish. There are portions of the code also that they have no authority to enforce. If you have a specific complaint about a specific law, let us know and we'll investigate.
So scenic corridor is not, you don't have to be complaint driven on the scenic corridor from what I understood.
It depends on what we're talking about. It depends on what kind of violation you're talking about. It's not a blanket thing. It's
It
very,
can
very
be a blanket
specific.
thing, just read the book.
Ma'am, the statute is very clear. It can't be.
Okay, well, anyways, I appreciate y'all's time, and I will get back, and I would appreciate if you look into my money coming back. Thank you.
Can I make just one quick comment? Mrs. Juckins is upset with the planning department. I will tell you this, that we have some of the best staff in the planning department. These people are dedicated, they're educated, they're trained, they do a good job. And so, from that standpoint, these people, it's a tough job. I mean, you've all seen this. You always have two sides, for and against. It's a tough job to be had. If those folks do a good job, do it the best of their abilities. Is anybody perfect? No. I'm not aware of all these sites that are being built out of conformance. Now, many times people disagree with what the regs say. That's one thing. Many times I look at the regs and I don't really agree with what it says, but we're compelled to enforce those regulations. But again, we've got a great staff. They do the best job they can. They provide the best customer service they can under the conditions we have to work under. And I have a lot of respect, and I'm very proud of them. They do a good job. I will say this. I will take responsibility for anything that's happened here. If there's something been a problem, I'll take responsibility for it and we'll address it. I'm not aware of any issue. Mrs. Juckins mentioned an issue that came before the Design Review Board last Thursday night. Staff report said it's out of compliance. It wasn't going to be approved. The Design Review Board approved a smaller sign. The applicant got our staff report and said, I understand it's too big. They reduced the size of the sign, and it got approved. That's how these things work. I will tell you this, the land development code is very complicated. There's a lot of facets to it. And you can't point to one particular section. You have to look at the whole thing in totality in the land development code. So it's not quite as easy as it sounds to implement. But again, great staff. They work hard. I have utmost respect. I feel like they do the best job they can. They have integrity. There's nobody that's doing anything nefarious that's been implicated tonight, as it's been mentioned. And I will stick up for them any day because I think we've got a good staff here.
Thank you. We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Everybody's waiting to take a breath. You don't realize